Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news. Julia TRUBKINA and Brandon Gibbs, fans of 90 Day Fiancé, will immediately recognize these names. Their journey from a K-1 visa romance to reality TV mainstays has been full of drama, heart, and growth. And now, they're expecting their first baby together. Big news, we're expecting, the couple announced to People, describing the moment as both exciting and a little surreal. Let's pause on that moment. They tied the knot in April 2020, following the whirlwind courtship chronicled in Season 8 of 90 Day Fiancé. Julia moved from Russia to Virginia, navigating culture clashes and life on Brandon's family farm. That transition was rocky. Difficult roles, emotional strain, and the ever-present scrutiny of Brandon's parents. Yet, the journey endured. Their story didn't end there. They went on to appear in 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, 90 Day Diaries, and 90 Day The Last Resort. Every spin-off captured different hurdles, from in-law tension to financial stress to relationship tensions, and showcased how Julia and Brandon continued to steer through them. Now, 5 years after their wedding, they're stepping into a completely new chapter: parenthood. According to the People exclusive published on August 26, 2025, both 31 years old, the stars expressed gratitude for the love and support they received and conveyed excitement for this next phase of life. This pregnancy announcement carries particular weight considering Julia's previously disclosed fertility challenges. In early 2025, she shared deeply personal health struggles that had followed her for years, from thyroid issues to irregular menstruation, painful cystitis since her teenage years, and uterine polyps. On The Last Resort, viewers saw her confront the possibility that she might never have biological children, a truth that had weighed heavily on her. She ultimately chose to get a second opinion, a move that marked both emotional healing and renewed hope. And that's why this news feels powerful. This isn't merely a reality show couple having a baby. This is Julia, overcoming deeply personal and painful barriers, publicly and privately, to share joy and possibility with the world. The timing also matters. Not long ago, Julia faced emotional breakdowns following petty crime and personal setbacks. Just weeks earlier, she had been hospitalized due to car break-ins, faced destructive damage at home, and battled the stress of losing their family pet. Despite those setbacks, they've ridden through emotionally raw terrain, including a recommitment ceremony on The Last Resort Season 2 finale in March 2025, affirmations of love during their 5th anniversary, and deepening resilience as a couple. So what does this announcement mean for them personally and for fans? On a personal level, it marks an unbelievable milestone after a long and turbulent emotional roller coaster. For the 90 Day Fiancé community, it's a victory, a hopeful, joyous turn in a narrative long defined by tension, conflict, and healing. Let's trace the broader arc. 2020, married after 90 Day Fiancé Season 8, faced cultural and familial clashes while living on Brandon's farm. 2022, they moved into their own place, stepping away from the farm's constraints and in-law pressure. Late 2024 to early 2025, returned to the franchise through spin-offs, addressed infertility fears, exposure of Julia's health struggles, and ultimately recommitted as a couple on The Last Resort. Mid-2025, experienced emotional crises due to personal safety woes and emotional exhaustion. August 2025, shared their pregnancy news, signaling a hopeful new chapter. Now, let's sketch a vivid closing reflection. Julia and Brandon's story has always been more than reality TV drama. It's been about love tested by distance, culture, distrust, health, and risk. They've been resilient. Julia's bravery in sharing her health journey and Brandon's evolving support marked a turning point, from suspicion and frustration to empathy and unity. With this new baby, they're offering fans something rare in this franchise, a story of healing, resilience, and genuine transformation. It's a reminder that even after shock, fear, and heartbreak, joy can still emerge. Their announcement doesn't erase the hard parts of their past, but it illuminates what's next. First steps towards parenthood, long after shots were once paused and hopes uncertain. For viewers, Julia and Brandon's news is a beacon. Even the most challenging stories can reach a hopeful new chapter. And for Julia and Brandon, it's not just about a baby. It's about blossoming, emerging from a storm into new life. Julia TRUBKINA and Brandon Gibbs are going to be parents. The 90 Day Fiancé stars are expecting their first baby together, sharing their pregnancy news exclusively with People. TRUBKINA, 31, and Gibbs, also 31, are thrilled to step into this new chapter of their lives, telling People it's both exciting and a little surreal. Big news we're expecting, the couple shares. It's both exciting and a little surreal, but we couldn't be more thrilled to step into this new chapter. Thank you all for the love and support. We can't wait to share the journey with you. The couple, who tied the knot in April 2020, appeared on Season 8 of the TLC series, as well as Season 6 of 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, 90 Day Diaries, and Season 2 of 90 Day The Last Resort. Through the series, fans have been able to follow the pair's relationship from when the soon-to-be first-time mom initially moved onto the Gibbs farm in Richmond, Virginia, from Russia. The transition to living with the family wasn't always comfortable. However, TRUBKINA and Gibbs' relationship stayed strong. In January 2022, TRUBKINA shared an Instagram reel of herself dancing to the cha-cha slide alongside her husband and his parents. In the video, the family looked to be in good spirits. In her caption, she mentioned that her husband took a tumble as the video cut out. Lost Brandon at the end of the video, TRUBKINA wrote, "Have a wonderful day, guys." Since then, the married couple have moved into a place of their own. Despite any stressors that they've faced since their relationship, TRUBKINA noted in a 2022 post on Instagram that when they're together, everything will be fine. "United States, our year began with obstacles," she wrote in a caption. "My fever is 105. The rent for the apartment ends soon. We need to make a decision about future actions. There were problems with documents, but we are together. Everything will be fine." Julia TRUBKINA's actions in 90 Day The Last Resort lead me to believe that she has fallen out of love with her husband, Brandon Gibbs. She and her American partner first met through a mutual friend before the COVID-19 pandemic. They fell in love with each other's personalities and started a relationship shortly after, leading to their appearance in 90 Day Fiancé Season 8. Initially, I enjoyed watching Brandon and Julia's story, as they seemed like genuine cast members with relatable issues. However, it wasn't long before Julia disappointed me by pushing Brandon to move out of his home. While Brandon and Julia took a break from appearing on the small screen, I stayed updated on their journey through social media. I watched as they faced challenges and grew stronger as a couple. I was especially impressed by Julia's efforts to reconcile with her in-laws and become a good daughter-in-law to them. Therefore, I was truly surprised when I learned that Brandon and Julia were participating in 90 Day The Last Resort Season 2. I had no idea that they were still struggling with significant relationship issues that had drastically altered their dynamic. Julia's recent actions and revelations have convinced me that she's no longer in love with Brandon. In a recent episode of the 90 Day Fiancé spin-off, she discussed her cheating scandal without showing a lot of remorse. She admitted to Brandon that she wasn't sure about their long-distance relationship in the beginning, so she had started dating and kissing her former boyfriend. Julia explained that she only opened up about her past infidelity in front of other cast members because it weighed heavily on her and caused her emotional distress. If Julia truly regretted her actions, she would have tried to express her love for Brandon. Instead, she chose to focus on her own feelings, showing a lack of concern for Brandon's emotions. Her response implies her guilt stemmed from being more involved with her ex than she had admitted. Julia's recent behavior leads me to believe that she isn't grateful for what Brandon has done for her. She diminishes the fact that he left his family farm for her and minimizes his sacrifices. Julia has also never acknowledged that he supported her through her deportation scare and all her new career moves. The fact that Julia doesn't want to have a child with Brandon makes me think that she has no respect for him. It seems like she only cares about herself and her feelings without considering what Brandon wants. I'm concerned that 90 Day Fiancé alum Brandon Gibbs is not getting the support he needs from his wife, Julia TRUBKINA, amid his recent health scare and their relationship pitfalls, leading me to believe Julia is only focused on herself. Brandon and Julia married in 90 Day Fiancé Season 8 in 2020. Since then, the pair have appeared on the Happily Ever After and 90 Day Diaries. Most recently, they put their marriage troubles on full display, as they are current cast members on 90 Day. The Last Resort Season 2, where they are joined by 5 other franchise couples. Brandon and Julia's original issues focused on Julia's need for independence from Brandon's parents, Ron and Betty Gibbs. They lived on Brandon's family farm, where Ron and Betty became very involved in their relationship. The pair were able to move out and have since made several moves before settling in the Hampton Roads, Virginia area. It was surprising to me to see Brandon and Julia on The Last Resort, as they paint a less problematic picture online, but I see that changing as Julia is falling short of what I see Brandon's needs are. Coming on to The Last Resort Season 2, Brandon and Julia outlined their disconnect over wanting to have a child. Julia was against it, and it was Brandon's dream. Julia revealed she got a diagnosis from a doctor in Russia that it would be very hard for her to conceive. However, knowing how much a baby means to Brandon, Julia agreed to get a second opinion from a US doctor. The problem I have with Julia here is that having a child is not something she wants, and I don't see her compromising even if she gets a better bill of health. The other major marriage turmoil Brandon and Julia encountered was Julia admitting that she cheated on Brandon with her ex-boyfriend early on in their relationship back in Russia. Brandon felt blindsided by the admission and felt betrayed by Julia, who wanted Brandon to forgive her since it was long ago. I think Julia doesn't realize how badly that revelation hurt Brandon and contributed to his overall anxiety and unease in their marriage. Julia also had criticism for Brandon's parents, and how they allegedly didn't care about her side of things in her conflicts with Brandon. I thought Julia's words were hurtful considering how much Ron and Betty have helped her out. Moreover, Julia made another surprise announcement that betrayed Brandon's trust when she said she applied for her parents to get an American visa behind his back. Their arrival means they will be staying with Brandon and Julia, so I believe she only has her interests at heart. To me, Julia acts on her own volition without consideration of Brandon. In January 2025, Julia gave an interview in which she relayed that Brandon had a panic attack that subsequently sent him to the hospital. Brandon clearly has fragile mental health, and I don't think Julia caters to that. I feel if she did, she would not put his mental health out for the public to hear about, and she would offer more help and stop delivering blow after blow to him. It seems to me like Brandon has been dealing with his anxiety on his own, and he is trying to overcome his condition himself. Brandon has been hitting exercise and fitness milestones that seem to be helping him, and all I've seen Julia do is like his posts. Brandon is in a delicate state, and I see Julia only putting him on blast, not supporting him. Julia Trubkina and Brandon Gibbs from 90 Day. The Last Resort recently lost their dog, Simba, and this sorrow could potentially harm their relationship. Brandon and Julia met through a mutual friend and fell in love. In 2020, they chose to marry in the United States, documenting their journey in 90 Day Fiancé Season 8. They encountered various challenges but were able to resolve most of them by the end of the season. Although Julia wasn't thrilled with the continuous involvement of Brandon's parents, Betty and Ron Gibbs, she decided to trust their love and move forward. Julia and Brandon moved out of the family home shortly after getting married. This newfound independence strengthened their relationship. Over time, Julia also improved her relationship with her in-laws by giving them another chance. However, just as things were starting to improve, Julia faced a serious deportation scare. This situation caused a great deal of stress for her and put a strain on her marriage to Brandon. Recently, Julia and Brandon appeared in 90 Day, The Last Resort Season 2 to address their marital issues. Through therapy, they were able to reconcile and work through their challenges. Julia and Brandon have faced many challenges in the past 5 years, but the loss of their pet, Simba, was the most painful experience they have ever had. In early May, Julia shared the tragic news on her social media, posting photos of her dog, Simba. She revealed that Simba had passed away after a long battle with his illness. In her post, Julia expressed her sorrow, saying, "Run on the rainbow, my boy. You are the best thing that has ever happened to me." She thanked Simba for being a good boy and declared, "My best, beloved boy, you will always be in my heart. Thank you for being in my life." Julia Trubkina's latest business is gaining attention from 90 Day Fiancé fans, suggesting that she could potentially earn more than Brandon Gibbs. Julia initially discussed Simba's health issues earlier this year. She shared several posts about her dogs, dedicating one of them to Simba. Julia wrote, "This week broke my heart into pieces. The doctors suggested putting Simba to sleep. She explained Simba had stopped eating and moving, adding, "We fed him every 2 hours with a syringe." Julia concluded her post by expressing hope, saying, "He is gaining strength and we will do the second operation." Despite her optimism about Simba's recovery, it is even sadder to see that Simba didn't make it. Julia and Brandon have had Simba since they were married. The couple adopted him shortly after they appeared on 90 Day Fiancé Season 8. They kept him at Brandon's family farm, where there were other German shepherds owned by his parents. A few years ago, Julia revealed that one of the main reasons she chose to remain connected to Brandon's farm was her pet, Simba. She stated, "It's only one reason I go back to farm. It's my dog, Simba." Julia mentioned that she had tried bringing Simba to her apartment but ultimately decided to keep him at the farm because it was better for him. Julia decided to keep Simba at the farm to maintain his healthy routine. She explained that when Simba was at home, she couldn't get much sleep, saying, "Him awake me like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. for go out." Julia found it difficult to keep Simba at the farm and expressed her deep love for him, saying, "I can't explain how I love him." She also mentioned her love for Brandon but noted that her love for Simba was different, comparing it to choosing between pizza and a burger and adding, "I don't know what I love more." They appeared to be happy and were eager to start afresh. However, Simba's passing could have a major impact on Julia and Brandon's future. Losing such a central part of their relationship might affect their marriage, leading them to encounter unforeseen challenges. Divergent ways of grieving could also be one of the factors causing issues in Brandon and Julia's relationship. They may struggle to move on from the tragedy at the same pace, ultimately leading to their separation. During 90 Day, the last resort season 2, Julia agreed to seek medical assistance to help her conceive a baby with Brandon. However, she may not pursue this decision now that she has lost Simba. She may not feel like engaging in family planning for the near future as she grieves the loss of her dog. Suppressed grief and unspoken expectations could strain Julia and Brandon's marriage, leading to increased instability in their relationship. Simba was not just their pet but also provided emotional support, which strengthened their bond. He played a significant role in them spending time together at the farm, nurturing their relationship. With Simba gone, Julia and Brandon no longer have a reason to visit the farm to spend quality time with each other or their families, leading to communication breakdowns and a decline in romance. The loss of Simba could cause irreparable damage to Julia and Brandon's marriage. Julia and Brandon appeared to be in high spirits after completing filming for 90 Day, The Last Resort. They had successfully overcome many past challenges, particularly ones that had strained their marriage. In recent months, the couple achieved many goals while supporting each other. Julia started her gift box business, serving hundreds of customers across the United States. We're wrapping up here for today, but the excitement of trending gossip doesn't stop here. We'll be back with new surprises very soon. So stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe.